behind the SacTV screen, by the way, which is just super cool.
I did this all by hand.
Dude, you do everything by hand. You write by hand, you draw by hand. Okay.
It's the handcrafted
It's the handcrafted stuff, for sure.
It's Alex Cosper with SacTV, and with me a special guest, a friend of mine for many, many years. We go so far back that it seems like I've always known you. John Young.
I appreciate that, Alex. We go back before the internet, and that's, and not because we grew up together, but literally when I moved from Southern California to the Sacramento region, you were one of the first musicians. I didn't even know you were in the radio business, but you were a musician who was kind enough to let me jam with you, and that sort of, got my foot in the door with the music scene and exposed me to the radio scene, and here we are.
You were in a band called Mature Innocence, and I liked the band, so I invited you to participate on our compilation CD.
Remember?
And actually on a couple of them.
That's right.
And one of the songs up on the second one or the third one, the second one you called the band Darwins. The name changed from Mature Innocence to the Darwins.
Yeah.
So what happened with that?
So Mature Innocence, I got a shout out to the Murray brothers, Eric and John.
And Eric.
Yep, they were the ones that created that band and were nice enough to just let me kind of interlope my way into it. And then when John Murray left the band, and Eric the drummer and I the guitar player and George Peterborough is a friend of ours who I had met through my social work job, the three of us created the Darwins out of sort of the remnants of what was left of Mature Innocence, and used some of those tunes with John's permission, as he had written a lot of those great lyrics, and so I sang them. We went on the road in the Sacramento area as a three-piece, and that's when I feel like that's around the time that Mature Innocence to the Darwins, but you were in between those times as I was trying to figure out where to go and allowing me to be a part of some of the original music.
KWOD actually played Mature Innocence and the Darwins.
I know. So and
we sprinkled it in like we did with a lot of local bands, so around the clock.
And that made a difference, because when you're trying to get club gigs in the pre-internet era, the pre-social media era, whatever you want to call it, if you had some radio play, that was a way to
talk about it and sounded big.
Yeah, right, exactly. You could get a club owner to return your calls, and back then it was not a cell phone call. It was
right. And just to remind people how rare it was for a local band to be heard on the radio, we only had one other station in town. That was KRXQ that did a local show, and theirs was called Local Licks, but it was more of a rock format, whereas KWOD's Sound of Sacramento was a more wide open format of music.
Yeah, and you were highlighting bands that played a lot of different stuff. I mean, you guys were one of the first stations to play Cake in like heavy rotation.
Right.
And some of that
all around the clock.
Right.
Several tracks.
Avant-garde rock, if you want. I mean, and that could encompass all kinds of things. I mean, you had more bands that featured female lead vocalists than some of the harder rock stations did. So you were opening the door for a lot of different bands to do different things.
I was conscious of all that too.
Right. Well, we appreciated that. With that, especially that lined up with our values, it lined up with us politically. We wanted to be part of something new and growing and exciting and
diverse.
Diverse is a good way to describe it. We still came from probably a hard rock bluesy orientation, but that goes back to loving the Beatles, loving James Brown.
I would say the Beatles were the core inspiration of how I programmed KWOD, an alternative station. And not a lot of people, the younger people back then, didn't necessarily associate the Beatles with alternative music or alternative radio, but I did, because I grew up with it. I was a little older and saw the evolution at KZAP here in Sacramento, and that crowd, I knew what they liked, and they evolved into the crowd that liked the Police and Elvis Costello, Talking Heads, and REM, and those kind of bands, and that fused into the 90s with the Seattle sound, and you had the British bands, and
Oasis was part of that eventually.
So there was a lot of, and the females, and so
Belly and
there was just a lot of diversity in the 90s, and I think a magical time like the 60s, because there was innovation in music, and there was also close examination of trying to be different, like not fitting into a cookie cutter bunch of templates, you know.
Well, and those early bands that I was in, you know, I was like I was the token, like, long-haired, like, bad mustache, Les Paul around my knees with a Marshall stack behind me. Then the other guitar player would, like, have short hair and be playing a Stratocaster with a smaller amp, but it was louder. And we did look kind of like just, you know, no pun intended, kind of a motley crew of different individuals. Eric was, you know, his big flaming red hair standing straight up on end, and I think there was an effort to try to buy into some of that. Like, let's be a little bit different, but have some characters in this band that you can probably relate to, no matter who you are.
In the mainstream.
In the mainstream to some degree. And again, it's all part of that. And I know you must feel this way to some degree, to be able to carve out a living creating and making music, or playing music, or programming music in some way, to be connected to that world was a privilege. It always felt good, and it always felt like you're just right around the corner from something big, so you kept doing it, and I'm grateful I got those chances, and you were one of those people that gave us a chance way back in the day.
Thank you. Yeah, KWOD was a special station,
For sure.
partly because it had that local connection, but also it was an independent station, independently owned, and like you now, for many years have been the morning host at an independent station in Vacaville, KUIC.
Yep, now, which I appreciate. I can't still believe that it's going to be 27 years, November 1st, 1999. Hopefully I did the math right.
Now, sometimes I could get that in Sacramento. What is it on the dial?
95.3.
95.3.
Right.
But sometimes it's squelched out, but I can get it sometimes.
We've had a new transmitting station and transmitter system since the LNU fire that was around the COVID time that just burned Solano County literally to the ground in parts of Vacaville and Fairfield and Dixon, and we lost our transmitter. Anyway, they rebuilt it back in 2020, so you should be able to get it better now and out to the outer reaches of the Bay Area and San Francisco and whatnot. But it's been an incredible ride, again, by getting to know and understand some of the Northern California radio ins and outs. You were part of that initial group of people who gave me a chance to show what I could do. I ran into Kat Madru today, who of course remembers you fondly. She had been a mainstay on the Eagle. She was actually on my show this morning with Pride Industries, where she's working with them.
She's met a lot of rock stars.
She had stories to tell about different rock stars she's met. And she had, speaking of the police, I asked her during today's interview with her, I said, would you, we've got a few minutes, you want to pick up one of your favorite songs from the 80s to play, that you remember fondly? And she goes, anything from the Police. And that was her big deal. So Spirits in the Material World, I thought, is something a little more, less mainstreamy, although most Police stuff is pretty awesome. But so as soon as I potted that up and took the headphones off, you could see her start to dance in the corner.
So she was at your show?
She was on the studio. She was actually in the studio with several other members of Pride Industries from Roseville. So it was super cool. Very cool.
Yeah, the Eagle, that's something I listen to still, and I don't really listen to much radio beyond that, but I would say that they play the same certain songs too much. And I always guarded against that at KWOD, and I proved you can get great ratings by being more of a deeper library of not repeating the same songs over and over again.
Well, and I wish you'd talk to some of the people who are in charge of the science behind, why certain songs.
There's an art and science behind it.
Right. Let's emphasize the art.
They don't want to study either because there's no data on it. It's all in my head.
Well, and mine too.
They'd have to interview me to know all the stuff I did at KWOD.
So go to SacTV and ask this man a couple of questions about, what it's like to program a station successfully. And I'm not just saying that because I'm your buddy, but you've got the history to prove it. I mean, it was a very successful.
At the time, we were the top-rated rock station in town.
That's crazy.
A station playing guitar-based music.
Sure.
I'm not including any of the lighter stations that didn't really play rock.
Yeah.
But there were 5 stations at the time, and most of them were classic rocks.
Yeah.
You had the Eagle, you had the Arrow, you had us, 98 Rock.
Right.
They were 93 Rock, then 98 Rock later.
Yeah.
And then the other was The Point.
The Point.
Which became the Zone.
The Zone, and 107.90. I lost track of some of those call letters, and as I'm thinking about that, KUIC, the station I've worked for now since 1999, went on the air with its call letters and its dial position in 1973. So it's 53 years old in the same position, doing the same stuff. And there is something to be said for that.
Same owners?
No, different owners. Our new ownership group that just bought the stations in September, Connoisseur Media out of the East Coast. But they're very committed to the concept of hometown and being connected to community, which I know you are too. And that was always one of your things at Quad that not all the other stations were doing all the time, which is reaching out to actual community members, having them be part of the show, whether it's local bands, whether it's local private nonprofits that are doing good things for the community, supporting musicians, supporting artists. That's what I like about working for a station that has a community connection, so it isn't just corp, and you're done, right? Then you go home.
Right. Everything's a commercial for itself.
Right. I know
Instead, this is more artistic, this vision I had that basically proved, yes, you can do a lot of artistic things with radio if you stay close to a certain structure that doesn't get too wild, like
so you don't alienate people.
Yeah, so you're playing like hit, flavor, hit, flavor. Like most of what you're playing are hits that the audience already says they like, but you're also spiking in this flavor to give it a whole interesting sound to it.
Well, and also you're maybe exposing the audience to stuff they wouldn't necessarily get and they may like,
right,
or they may love.
A lot of the Cowboy Junkies became a big band from Quad Airplay because I loved them, you know.
You had a personal connection and you want to share that with your audience.
Yeah.
Another great, and you and I could go on for hours of the different bands that have come into Sacramento or come into Northern California, the Bay Area, whatever you want to call it, this Northern California region.
There's about 50 bands I think I helped get airplay where they could go around and say, they got enough airplay on Quad where it was cool to mention and it had an impact. Mm-hmm. That was something that was like the gold standard for the local scene, is to get played on one of the stations.
Well, and again, I'll say it one more time at the risk of repeating myself, that when you didn't have other avenues or other levers to pull to get your band into clubs or get your band in front of people, if you had local airplay, that was your ticket in many cases. I know it was for us. I remember so distinctly the first the flood relief CD that you had us be a part of when we were
Nature Sets Its Own Law.
Nature Sets Its Own Law. And that song, you had it playing. I was in my wife's 1989 white Honda four-door sedan or little Civic, the blue interior. I'm just remembering now. I was pulling into a pizza joint in Roseville to pick up a pizza, and we were treating ourselves. We weren't making a ton of money back then, so to go out for a pizza was a fancy evening. Little 4-year-old Nicole is back at the house. She's 33, by the way, so times have changed. Anyway, I'm pulling into the parking lot, listening to Quad because I just had that on the radio there, and Nature Sets Its Own Law comes on, and I'll never forget how it felt to be sitting in that car, put the thing in neutral, and I just sat in the parking lot to listen to a song I had something to do with coming out of the speakers being played on the radio.
You played drums on that, right?
I actually played guitar on that one. Yeah, I played, and Brian Crane, shout out to him, he did the lead work on that, but I did the rhythm guitar, and then I sang the vocal or background vocal with John Murray, who sounds great on that track. But ultimately, to know I had something to do with that, and I was hearing a song in a band I'm in coming out of the speakers of my car, not because I called you and begged you to play it, but it was right. That's a magical moment that I hope other bands, I don't know how, when you hear your song on Spotify now, do you feel that way? Do you, probably not. And I'm appreciative of that feeling because I'll never forget it. And to this day, I see that blue interior, I feel that car pulling into that parking spot, hearing the song, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here and listen to the
Well, at any given moment, there were thousands of people listening to that radio station, whereas Spotify at any given moment there's really no way of telling who's all dialed in,
right?
And there's the statistics they use are very questionable, I think, compared to the data that I based musical decisions on back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
That was real record sales. That wasn't just
people
a
buying
theory
albums.
that someone listened.
It wasn't theoretical. It was based on real numbers, right? That's cool.
But now it's theoretical because you can have a room this size full of computers and have like 10,000 IP addresses and just pretend that they're all listening to whatever, Spotify, whatever, and they're not going to police it. They're not going to care. They just care about money.
Well, and so then it comes back to some of the things that you've held on to, Alex, for as long as I've known you, which is the values that look at creativity, that look at community, that look at how do you plus things for people who may not have as much as you? How do you bring joy when there isn't a lot of it in different sectors of our world now? That still matters, and there's still people who care about that, and there's still ways to monetize and live in a capitalist society and still provide something and still be a giver, not just a sucker upper of all the stuff around you. So I appreciate that about you. I've seen a couple of these interviews. I'm stoked to be a part of this one, but you've covered some interesting ground with people like fake radio names. I just love that whole segment because you and I have got our real names.
Yeah.
And everybody has a story about fake names, either like, here, take this fake name, Alex Johnson or Alex Bolt.
Be this character.
When I first got my gig at KUIC and I was filling out the paperwork in HR, I got hired and I'm so excited. I'm signing my contract and I wrote my name out and all my stuff. And they said, okay, well, that's great. Now we're going to need your actual real name for the paperwork. Because they thought John Young was a made up name that I had somehow. And everybody around me had a made-up name but me. I was the one, and I thought, should I have a made-up name? Should I be Johnny Bolt? What are we doing here? And I had to convince her. She didn't believe me at first in HR that my real name is John Young. That's not a fake name.
Sounds like it would be a common name.
It seemed like that. When I was growing up, nobody had the last name Young. It was very rare. I didn't know about other Youngs.
That's before Steve Young of the 49ers.
That's what I'm talking about. Some of the bigger Youngs. But I've got to think that Cosper, which is a cool name. You're the only Cosper I've ever met.
Yeah.
So
not too many Cosper families in the United States.
Okay, right. But Young more common. And I didn't realize that till I got looked at more telephone books or saw more lists or when I go to pick up my car or something like, so which John Young are you? I'm like, there's more than one John Young? That seems weird, but...
So the reason why you stood out to me in that crowd of musicians, like when you first came from LA to Sacramento, we bonded because we both loved the Beatles, so we talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
And we like guitar songs, and so, I was really... amazed to know someone who could do all kinds of cover songs. You still know lots of like 60s, 70s, 80s.
I just love that sound, and I love being able to be able to pick up a guitar, and if I know at least half of the song, I can probably figure it out. But the amount of personal and original writing that you did was always, I wish I had done more of that. I was always the one who was like, if you've got a song, teach me your song and I'll learn it for you. I'll play the second part or I'll play the drums for you. But the motivation to create from within and which is so wired into how you do stuff, that's what I appreciated, and I thought I need more of that to rub off on me because I don't want to do that.
Over the years, I've collected your archives and embedded it into my new musical project, Sunsetrip.
Nice.
And so you're on some of those tracks. You play drums, I think, on at least 3 of the tracks, and
Tangent Sunset, baby, look that one up.
Yes.
That's going back into
Sunsetrip.com is what it evolved into.
Nice.
Tangent Sunset was the original name of the group.
Gotcha. That's what I remember as the project back in the day.
And then I decided, that'd be a good name for my company now, Tangent Sunset Media, which owns SacTV and then other things, Sunsetrip and Playlist Research.
Nice.
And so that's the umbrella name of my company now, Tangent Sunset.
I always thought it just had a great vibe, even as a record title and as a project title.
So under that is just all my DBAs, all my little businesses. Sunsetrip is the new musical project where I've actually done a couple albums so far, and you're on both of them.
I love it. Well, I appreciate that, man. Again, it's fun to have that in the ether out there for people to enjoy when they can, and I'll enjoy it too because I like to go back and listen to stuff that we've done previously. So
John, we've done all this music together. You want to do more music in the future?
When you reached out to me and said you're going to start to get together with friends, you've got a new rehearsal space, you were talking about just getting together to jam, and that's what I love to do, like with no real preconceived notion, or you don't need me to learn 65 things to do this here, like set up a kit or bring your guitar or whatever and just go. I love that idea. I mean, it's full circle moment for me because the first real recordings I did were with you.
That's right.
Yeah, so
I remember that.
yeah, I mean, we were just testing out stuff and you're running by your
Everyday
originals.
Hideaway, that was one of the early songs we did.
Yeah.
And we did several recordings in the beginning, like at least 10 songs.
Right.
And they're all cool, like archives for me, but I don't really have them online where people could check them out. But the newer stuff, the stuff we did when I was in the San Francisco Bay Area in
Yes.
Orinda,
Yep.
you came over that time and you laid down some stuff with me. And also I came to your place in Roseville. You had a little tiny practice room in your backyard.
Yeah, well, and now we've converted that into, that's my home studio now
Okay.
that I broadcast from 3 days a
Okay.
week. Yeah, so it's
Great.
saving me a little bit of travel
Yeah,
time.
we did some stuff there too.
Yeah.
So those are good memories. And then it became part of the 2020s. I just decided, those are good recordings back then, and we did good stuff. So I'm just gonna preserve it and still talk about it in the 2020s.
Well, I love it. I'm hoping that we'll get a chance to jam again. Now it's documented on SacTV. We are going to jam again.
And as far as you jamming with, you have a cover band that you play in now.
Right, and I love these guys. A shout out to my boys, Randy Walker and John Taylor and Steve Kane. Vino Banditos, if you get a chance to check it out, we've got a couple of songs on Spotify.
Play at
that's how you do it.
wineries.
We play at wineries. We've got Conte, I should say, because the way it's spelled, it's Conte Ao Vino, but I'll call it Conte in Rockland. There's a little tasting room there in Placer County that's fun, and we've got gigs coming up there. We've done some shows for the city of Roseville too. They have a wine down Wednesday where people come out and enjoy a glass or two of something, and then don't go to work the next day. Maybe I know I don't because I take the next day off because it's hard to play a gig.
You must be well known in Roseville by now. I remember in the 90s I would come to Roseville to see you guys play.
Right, and we still have a pretty good little smattering of places that we play up there, and some of the wine. We'll be out at Dono del Cielo, which is out in the kind of the Placer wine country. That's coming up on the 28th of this month. So we're still, that still scratches that itch of being able to pick up instruments and play with top tier musicians, which the guys in the band are. Everybody sings, everybody harmonizes, so it keeps you on your game. It keeps you,
So do you do any really familiar cover?
Weirdly enough, we've sort of revisited the Gin Blossom's New Miserable Experience record. You remember played the
Found
snot
out
out of
about
that.
you, Hey Jealousy.
We do Found Out About You, and we do Allison Road because of the harmony, so we can work all these harmony parts into it. So we're trying to. We've got All For You. What's the band that covers that one? You guys played that one too. The band that wrote All For You. Now I'm covering them, and I don't remember the name of the band. I know. We've got some '90s music mixed in with, 60s, 80s stuff. The Cure, which you and I both love, and then harder rock things that like some ZZ Top that Randy loves to play.
Yeah.
And so we can get a solo on every now and again. When people come to see us, they've told me, and I believe this, that you guys are very eclectic. Like you've got a lot of different types of music. So I want to keep that going. I want to be interesting, just the way you described your playlists were at KWOD.
Yeah.
There's a strategy to it. Make
cool
it
mix
interesting.
of music.
A cool mix, right? Don't just
Don't make it random.
No, and you know what? Don't make it. We don't do requests. I don't put a tip jar out. We're just there to entertain you. So if you just enjoy what we're doing, but inevitably somebody who's had 7 glasses of some very strong Merlot will go,
But
you guys know that one? And it's like, oh, come on.
Do you guys actually do songs though that people are gonna ask for? Like Sweet Home Alabama?
No, we don't. Yeah, and we have a push against that a little bit. Like we love Tom Petty because he's another great artist that you can do acoustic versions
Mary
of his
Jane's
tunes.
Last
Mary
Dance.
Jane's Last Dance. We'll do You Wreck Me. We kind of close with that.
And I Won't Back Down.
I Won't Back Down's a good one. I Need to Know from his first album.
Free Fallin'.
Free Fallin' is fun. Just songs that you hope to get a rise out of people. Like we go back to some Stone stuff, but we'll play the 70s era Stones, like Miss You, where you can just have that Charlie Watts groove and just play guitar solos against it and kind of do my best Mick Jagger imitation and get the crowd up and running and I love to see them singing along, because then I know we're delving into the same kind of music you like. When you'll see somebody in the back corner mouthing all the lyrics, you're like, okay, we're hitting the right notes. Doobie Brothers, Long Train Running, just stuff that has a funk to it, which I like. So
that whole sound, like the California sound of the 60s and 70s, I love that whole thing.
Me too.
To me, it's like the Beatles.
Well, and that's getting back to what we bonded over, I think, musically. We liked good harmonies. We liked good, we just like good songcraft.
Yeah.
And I never will claim to have remotely the amount of talent that these heroes of mine have, but it is fun to have examples that you can follow when you try to write your own music. Putting good chord progressions together that make some logical sense in someone's brain, that aren't just like acid jazz craziness that's fine for you to pluck out because it's interesting to play it, but is it interesting to hear it? I don't know.
Well, how about your songwriting? How much songwriting do you do these days?
I do a little, because we have 3 songs on Spotify, and I wrote 2 of them. Then I produced and arranged the 3rd one. I still like to, and we have project songs. I don't know if you ever had those, like, that are half done, like when the band gets together to rehearse. Are we ever going to get back to that one? We started that one riff, and inevitably we need to focus on learning some more songs because we have a gig coming up, and it tends to get back, kind of pushed back a little bit. But I do write, and the songs that I've written that are the Spotify songs, Fighting Chance, First Day of September, and the 3rd one called Little Things, are up and about, and those are all great songs, I think. And they're not too derivative, but they do follow that songcraft stuff you and I like. There's harmony, there's a bridge, there's a chorus, there's verses.
It sounds like a song.
It sounds like a song. So check them out if you get a chance.
And we all go back to our early childhoods for that, because that's one of the first things we learned in school were songs.
Yeah, that's such a good point. My wife's a 4th grade teacher. Shout out to Meg Young, who is, she never gives herself enough credit, but she sings to her kids, because a lot of the stuff they're learning even in 4th grade is sometimes song or lyrical based.
And you know what? Dick Van Dyke, who turned 100 the past year.
Oh, yeah, I did.
So we don't have to feel that old yet.
Not yet.
He said part of his secret to longevity was singing.
I don't doubt it.
I never knew that he sang, but that's interesting. Well, I guess he did in the 60s, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and all that stuff.
Mary Poppins.
Yeah,
dude was an incredible dancer too. I mean, just nuts. But if I'm gonna live to 100, then at least let me look like Dick Van Dyke does, because he's pretty put together for a guy who was born in 1924, 1925. It's crazy. Anyway.
Yeah, but that's interesting that music does have medicinal value on top of spiritual value and physical value.
Entertainment value.
There's so much about it. You could use it for math class, to teach other things besides music. And you could use it as a tool for really, and this is something I'm actually pushing for with SacTV and a lot of other stuff I do, create this whole realm of educational music. Give music a better purpose than what it already has as just commercial music.
Sure.
I mean, it's cool to go out to a nightclub or whatever and hear cool music and dance music. However, if that's kind of the only snippet that the music industry has really thrown at the public, they haven't really gotten deep into what's the most powerful type of music out there. And I think the most powerful type of music, like the Beatles, would be music that's very melodic, that tells stories, that feed your brain.
Yeah. educationally activated music. I like it. You're hearing it first on SacTV.
John, thank you for joining me.
Appreciate you, man. It's really good to just connect again, and I could talk radio music and Beatles songs with you all day long.
Well, let's do it again sometime.
For sure. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
And I want to play one of your songs. Do you know yet what song you want to include?
I would, let's play Little Things. It's John Taylor on the lead vocal, Randy Walker and I playing guitar, Ralph Kearns, amazing drummer and keyboard player. I think you'll dig it. It's called Little Things. It's on Spotify if you want to check it out too.
It's the little things in life, baby. It's the little things. Oh, it's the little things. Yeah, it's the little things. Oh, it's the little things. My guitar, familiar song. Sing it, baby. Sing it, baby. All night long. Seems the older I get, the more that I learn. It's the little things in life that bring the biggest return. Yeah. The older I get, the more that I learn. It's the little things in life, baby. It's the little things. My spirits every time. Summer nights with my friends. I hope this feeling never ends, baby. Oh, it's a little thing. Oh, it's little things. 20 years with my wife. Well, there's no doubt, baby, it's been the best years of my life. Seems the older I get, the more that I learn. It's the little things in life that bring the biggest return. Yeah, the older I get, the more that I learn. It's the little things in life, baby. It's the little things. Whoa, it's the little things. Yeah, it's the little things. Oh yeah, oh, it's the little things. Show 'em a thing or two, Randy.